Hey, what's up, party people? Welcome to the Honest Trailer commentaries for Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 3. I'm here with Lon
Third
Harris.
ball.
Third Vol.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are going to talk about the film, our behind the scenes process, and thoughts and feelings about it overall. We're also going to show you some deleted scenes, show you, some cut jokes and stuff like that. We will do a Q&A with the people watching, so put any questions you may have in the live chat, and we'll get to those. And then we'll tease you with next week's Honest Trailer. But first, we're going to talk about the strike. So, look, if this is 6 months from now and it's over, please skip ahead. But
you'll be able to see at the bottom of the video, you'll see a big spike in viewership where that part stops. Just go there.
I mean, we would be remiss to not mention that SAG and the WGA for the first time since 1960 are stopping work in an effort to get a better deal from the associated theaters and studios of the world. And yeah, so I guess a couple things about that. One is that we looked into it and we've gotten no guidance from SAG as far as we can tell that pertains explicitly to this show. Lon and I are not SAG. We support them, but we're not actors, nor do we play them on YouTube.
Clear. I mean, if I was going to auditions, I think I'd probably have to trim this more.
Yeah. So but we also are very understanding that our work doesn't exist without theirs, without the writers and the actors who create the things that we love and sometimes take the piss out of. It's nothing without the people who actually make the things. So I don't know much about the financials. I don't know much about the ins and outs of the deal as it's being worked out and hammered out. I just know that there's a big pile of money in entertainment, and I want as much of it as possible to go to the people who make the things. That's really as complex as my thinking goes on it.
I mean, I think that often it gets reduced to just the financials. And I don't want to say that's not part of it at all. Obviously, that is a big part of it. People need to get paid fairly, compensated for the work that they're doing, especially when it is a success. But it's not just about like, show me the money, like I want to get paid more. I think it gets reduced to that, like, oh, these rich Hollywood actors want to make more. There's a lot at stake going on right now beyond just how big is my paycheck for this show versus that show versus this movie. Like a really good example that people have been talking about a lot are like building a career as a TV writer rather than just getting one-offs. Like the way that the industry used to work when TV shows ran for, like 20 some episodes, like we were just talking about The Flash, that show when it was the 90s CBS Flash, you would make 24, 26 episodes a year. So that was your job. If you wrote on The Flash, you wrote on that show, you took summer off, and then The Flash either got renewed, it didn't, or you were on a better show that got renewed, and then you'd have a job next year, or if your show got canceled, you'd go look for your next gig. But now everything is like a Netflix show where you work 3 weeks, or a Hulu show where you work for a month, or this show where you work for a few weeks. You're constantly looking for your next gig. There's no way to put a writing career together. So we're not fostering the next generation of TV writers and creators and showrunners, which is going to have a lot of long-term effects for fans. That's even if you don't watch, or even if you don't make the shows, just as a person watching the show, you want there to be a way for new writers to like get in and get their voices heard and establish a foothold in the industry. So everything isn't just being made by Taylor Sheridan or Shonda Rhimes. Like they're great. No offense to the Ryan Murphys of the world, but we want a lot of variety, and you need to help people build careers if you're going to do that. So that's just one example. There's so many examples like that of other issues that are at stake beyond just the money.
Right. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it is about the money because that's what a career is like a way to sustain your life and be able to do this full time.
It's always, it does come down to that eventually, but I just mean, it's not necessarily just, well, we get a 4% and we want to raise that to 6%. Like part of it is that, but part of it is also like guardrails to protect against AI. And it's not just AI writing scripts, which is what like you jump to immediately because AI can't really do that. But it's like a lot of who gets paid for screenwriting and for TV writing is based on like who came up with the premise, who wrote the story, whose idea was it, and then they brought in other writers to like tweak it or whatever. But what if you could get Chat GPT to just spit out 100 premises, like Osimo on South Park, like Adam Sandler's a billionaire, a boxer, whatever. Really, seriously. And then you go to writers and you say, okay, here's the computer's idea. We just want you to adapt the computer's idea. Well, then that writer doesn't get to own the idea. The studio owns it. And so, like, those are all kinds of the things that could be going on. And that's the kind of protections that people are looking for. And obviously for actors, it's even more cut and dry. It's like they literally want to scan your face into the computer and then use it without paying you. And it's like, that's money, but it's also bigger than just money.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, there's please read into it more. I think, if not, I will put it in there at the end of the show, have a link to a fund to support actors and writers while they're on strike. So they can, cover their costs and pay their bills while they try for the long-term play of making writing and acting into a viable career,
like,
and not
a real job,
and not like not like gig work.
Well, it's another. I mean, if you think about and listen, we love a nepo baby here at Honest Trailer. I'm not trying to Maya Hawk, you're fantastic, but like, part of that is that it becomes so much more difficult to start an acting career, to start a writing career, to break in. That like, those opportunities go to the people who can afford to live in LA and be around and be part of the industry and like take a few years to worm their way in, whereas other people go broke before they get a chance to break in.
Yeah. So we will, I mean, if you have more Q&A for Lon, seems more well-informed than I am, but please put any questions you may have in the chat. We'll get to them at the end of the show. And we'll give updates as major events happen. I guess we'll use this as we'll keep poking you and reminding you that, look, it's all fine now, but wow, I'd say 6 months from now, Honest Trailers is going to be looking back to the 80s.
Yeah. I think the thing I just read was saying, if they don't figure this out by Labor Day, like the New York Times today is saying, if we don't figure this out by Labor Day, 2024 is going to be little light at your local Cineplex. Like Netflix might be able to hold out longer than most others, Amazon, Apple, because they've been planning a content pipeline for a really long time. But like, we're going to run out of Paramount movies pretty soon.
Yeah. So like I said, we'll keep you posted. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 Honest Trailer commentary begins now. All right.
Spike, there it goes.
Wow. Through the roof.
Top of the parabola right here.
So look, there's another spider on my wall. Lon, talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
What's that? I was
wait, thematically with animal cruelty, I'm going to squish the spider and I'll be right back.
Yeah. PETA, brought to you by PETA, Spencer murdering an animal. So I actually have been pretty down. If you're a longtime viewer of this show, I haven't been that into the Marvel Studios output in a while. And I love the Guardians movie, so I was sort of nervous going into this that with the downturn of my interest in a lot of Marvel Studios stuff that I was not going to be as into this one either. But James Gunn got me. I really like this movie. I think this is about as good as anything Marvel Studios is really putting out, if I'm being honest. It's heartfelt, it's emotional, it's pretty to look at. The action is exciting, it's funny. It's exactly what I think you want from the Marvel brand and Marvel Studios kinds of films. And it stands on its own. It doesn't feel like a chapter in a larger story. It really feels like we're wrapping up this Guardians narrative in a thoughtful way.
Yeah. Assuming, I think I get what you were saying while I was off.
Mostly because Marvel's been a little mid lately, and I feel like this one brings them back to former glory.
Well, I mean, I hate to bring it back to the strike because I said we were done talking about it, but it turns out that it's not just the IP, it's the people behind it making the movie. And James Gunn is a very talented writer and director, and James Gunn movies in the Marvel universe are generally pretty good. It's like, because the people thinking about this and making the film, like, they're filmmakers, and they have a good understanding of character, and like, they know that you're not there just to see, oh, remember this guy, remember that guy. Oh, look, that looked awesome when this person crashed through the wall and shot everybody. It needs to mean something when they crash through the wall and shoot everybody.
Right.
And everything he's done, which is why I feel good and bad about him taking over DC, because like, I think he's very talented and I think he understands this stuff, but I also don't want Marvel and DC to feel the same.
Yes, I understand.
So yeah, I'm of two minds about that. It's like JJ, like you should, maybe this is a concession they can give to the studios, like the writers and directors, is like, you can only control so many IPs before you have to give it up to somebody else. Like,
I do feel like what we're hearing early on from his Superman Legacy project, his first big, he's bringing in all these like really, like he's doing what he did for the Suicide Squad movie, where he's bringing in just a ton of like C tier, D tier DC characters, just to kind of get him in the mix and put us in the middle. But it feels like he's launching the DC universe like already active, which is going to make it feel really different from the MCU. I hope. I'm holding out hope that it's going to be tonally very different, because MCU, we watched the whole universe like before Iron Man, presumably. Well, I guess Captain Marvel had already happened, but like we've watched all the supernatural events start to happen that brought their universe, diverged it from our own reality. Whereas DC apparently is going to just start already crazy. There's Green Lanterns, Metamorpho, NoHo Hank is playing Metamorpho. So like, I like that, because I feel like it is a really different vibe where it's just going to be chaos from day one, and like all this stuff is already happening.
So yeah, cautiously optimistic for that. Though I am still against, the human the one person monopolies over like Star Trek and Star Wars or Marvel and DC or whatever.
Yeah.
But back to Guardians 3. The only other big point I want to make about Guardians 3 is the theme of animal abuse that runs throughout it, and how it's like, I found it super effective. Obviously, I'm a human being, as I constantly reassure people on this show. But I do think that it's like using animal abuse for to extract, pathos from the audience. It's a bit like tickling someone to make them laugh. It's like, I get it, and it works, but it's not hard to like make people feel for a caged animal being poked and prodded and like put through immense suffering. Like, because they're, of course, they're so pure, your heart aches for them and stuff like that. I don't want to say it was exploitive, but I'm like, it's like, well, I don't know. I feel like it's a shortcut for getting you to care about Rocket Raccoon and that whole subplot that we spent all that time in.
I think there was a way to do it with a bit of a lighter touch. And I would have been okay with that. It feels very heavy-handed. I'll tell you, there's one moment where I think he jumps the line. They're watching a hologram projection of what was done to Rocket. It's blurred out, so we don't see the details. But they're all watching, and the actors are doing their look of horror at seeing it. And then Nebula goes, "It's even worse than what Thanos did to me." And first of all, that's out of character. Nebula, what Thanos did to her is the worst thing, and that's her whole bit. But also, it's too fine a point, James. You don't have to. We get it. You don't have to hit us over the head with it. It makes me feel what you're describing. Like, well, now I'm being jerked around by this guy who wants me to feel extra sad.
Yeah. But apart from that, I think the Guardians movies is probably you take them as a trilogy, and like these are the three probably best examples of the MCU, I think. Like
my favorite trilogy from the MCU for sure. And I like Volume 2. I know a lot of people are sort of sour on Volume 2. Like, it's the weakest of the
I agree. Yeah, it is, yes.
But I still like it probably more than 50% or more of other Marvel movies.
Yeah. So there you go. People are like, you were soft on this one. It's like, well, because it's pretty good. I mean, it's not the best movie ever, but it's fine. I mean, make things up to shit on. Like, okay, fine.
We didn't need to be soft on Quantumania because everything in the movie is already soft. It's just a movie of goo.
Yeah. Well, we found our own goo in this one too.
There always is goo now. They must get a discount. Iger must get a discount on goo, or he's using he's using it to polish his yacht after the movies are done or something.
All right, let's run into the honest trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3.
In 2018, James Gunn got fired when his original concept for Groot was revealed. Now, Marvel's come crawling back for one last job, and Gunn has delivered a masterpiece, at least compared to their other crap.
I'm gonna need to take some time.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3.
Pause. I had forgotten because it was so long ago, 2018, that this was the movie that James Gunn was fired from. He was in pre-production or writing at least of Guardians Volume 3 when Jack Posobiec, is that who it was? Or somebody
wasn't it? It was Cernovich, right?
Cernovich, yeah.
One
Brought up all of
those guys.
all of James Gunn's admittedly awful edgelord early 2000s comedy, and then he got fired. And can you like remember what happened after that? Like, when did he get brought back?
He got fired, and then that was when he went over to DC and he started working on Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. And then I feel like it was one by one, a lot of the Guardians actors started kind of coming out and saying, I don't want to do this anymore without James Gunn. Like Batista, I know, was first up, but I feel like there were a few other examples of that too. And then as time went on, it just like, we were in a certain phase of like the cancel culture discourse when all that was happening. And Cernovich was, I guess, trying to make this larger point about like, oh, you're canceling people on the right, but we're going to cancel one of your guys, and then you're going to hate canceling. And it just like people lost their taste for all that stuff, like that argument just kind of died down. And I feel like over time, Disney was just like, why did we throw this guy away? He's one of the best people doing our movies. Everybody wants him back. We want to make a third Guardians movie. It just no longer made any sense, like nobody was really that. Here's the thing. Unlike a lot of these other instances of canceling or whatever, we don't have to get into all that. There's usually at least a pocket of people who are actually offended, like there are people who are actually offended by Louis C.K. or Dave Chappelle or whatever, whoever else. Please, let's not get into it. But there wasn't like, this wasn't an outcry about James Gunn. This was a guy who purposefully went looking for dirt on him. And so it was like, well, who's even upset about this now? Like, there's nobody, we're not playing to an upset group,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for I forgot that the cast was very influential.
I know.
And
the only one I remember for 100% sure is Batista came out.
Oh yeah, he doesn't give a shit.
I don't want to do any more of these movies without James Gunn. But I feel like there were one or two, like Karen Gillan said something, or Chris Pratt, or one or two others.
I think this like knocked it out of like out of the schedule, and it was going to come out at a different point in time, right? So this things had to be shuffled around.
It was originally going to be like more earlier on in this phase than it ended up being.
Or like they were going to be the Kang gang,
right,
or something like that. I'm sure they had to rewrite. They had to blow up like 7 other scripts because this one got delayed or something like that.
I'm sure the goats were in this one originally.
Release the goat. Like, release the goat cut. It's funny. See, it's goat.
Hey, if I repeat it enough times, it'll be really funny. I can't keep the accent. Sorry for that.
All right, keep going.
The Guardians are back, and since you probably missed the Christmas special, here's a quick recap. Quill and Mantis are siblings.
He's your brother.
It doesn't matter. He still doesn't listen to me.
Groot is starting to branch out. Drax is still Drax.
He'll know people. Kill one guy, one stupid guy who no one loves.
Newcomer Adam Warlock is also Drax.
I said show him we mean business!
What more business could we have shown him?
Gamora's from an alternate timeline where she ran out of shampoo. Nebula is conducting an on-screen chemistry experiment.
Knock it off!
What?
And Rocket Raccoon is a valuable piece of IP that Space Disney will kill to get back.
There's no escape, little guy. We own you forever.
Speaking of Disney...
I wonder, maybe I'm just wish casting here, but like how much James Gunn meant for this film to be an anti-Disney or anti-studio story, because
I feel like the High Evolutionary is more a tech guy than a media guy. Like he feels less Bob Iger and more like Peter Thiel to me.
But it's very intellectual property based. Like
true.
Rocket Raccoon
he literally says Rocket Raccoon is his intellectual.
Yeah, like they have the patent for Rocket Raccoon and no one else can use him. He can't be doing any unauthorized adventures or else they'll send
it's just like Orgo Corp looks like an Apple store inside, and like
a gooey Apple store.
It's a gooey Apple store, and he's got that like God complex sort of like Elon Musk, I'm the great genius, whatever. It's a little bit of both. You're absolutely right. I do. I mean, I always think these guys put a little bit of like a little pepper on it, just to let us know, like, hey, we're working this studio gig, but we're still cool. Like Burton's Dumbo movie, where it's like very obviously like, I'm making this for Disney, but it's also kind of about Disneyland, folks.
Okay. So, like most people, I never watched that.
Oh, it's very much like a parody of this like grift amusement park that's like upscaling, upcharging people for everything and kind of scammy. And you're obviously supposed to read it as, oh, he's kind of tongue-in-cheek mocking Disney a little, but in a safe, approved way. Not. I mean, really,
it's fun for us, but the studios themselves, I don't think know or care if they're being made fun of as long as we pay to see it.
Exactly. I mean, it's in a safe way. Like, it's like a roast. Like, you can roast Disney, but in an approved way in one of our movies, and then it's all good afterwards.
If there was a show about Cassian Andor, seizing control of Burbank Studios and telling everyone that they would get a higher residual rate.
Right.
But it got people to sign up for Disney Plus. People were like, yeah.
They would absolutely not. They would love it. It's like, I mean, we just had a great example of this. McDonald's.
Well, Andor, but yeah.
Well, yeah. But people were making Grimace Shake videos like it kills you. But McDonald's loved it.
You have to buy a Grimace Shake.
Because everybody wanted to go try it. So yeah, they don't care if you make a video about how it kills you as long as people buy a Grimace Shake.
Yeah. Oh man, what a trap. Okay, let's keep going.
Or in Fear from Orgo Corp, a different child imprisoning corporation.
Jip, jip.
And meet their CEO, the High Evolutionary. He set out to play God.
There is no God! That's why I stepped in!
But will settle for playing Pokemon. Yes, he's another evil purple guy, but in a Marvel first, he'll teach us that science should only be used to keep the status quo.
You didn't want to make things perfect. You just hated things the way they are.
And when you think about it, that's the lesson Tony Stark taught us too. And Emil Blonsky, and Audra Killian, and Maya Hansen, and Darren Cross, and Fastos, and Riri Williams, and Cassie Lang, and... Prepare for a rock and roll origin story.
I just think, that we're back to, again, this is like broken record at this point, and who cares? But they've also done better in other installments of just another generic evil yelling guy who wants to change the world, but in a bad way with science. And it's like, look, you need to make room for giving everybody their send-off, because this movie's about the Guardians and seeing these characters for the final time and their relationships and stuff like that. But they just didn't really care to make the High Evolutionary anything but the guy that yells at people, at his underlings, to go, get me the thing. I'm changing the world with science, and I'm dead. We're back to square one with the Marvel villain thing.
Yeah, I like this actor. He's also in Peacemaker. He was also Chukwudi Iwuji, I think is his name. I might have mangled that. I'm sorry, everybody. He's good, and it's a cool design. I liked everything about the sort of ideas behind the character, but yeah, there's just not that much to it when you get to the actual movie. He kind of is just another stand around, barking orders at his underling sort of villain. And I'll tell you the other thing I kind of don't like that was him and Kang and a few other bad guys. It just feels like we don't have any kind of sense of like why they're so powerful or how they got so powerful. They're just a guy in a power suit. And it really almost feels like the suit is the powerful thing. And it makes them feel like less of I wish I had more of a sense of like, he was just some regular guy. And then he kind of has a line of dialogue where he's like, I was encouraged to harness the power of gravity or whatever. But I wanted a lot more of
Aren't
that.
we all?
Yeah, like okay, you've got a gravity suit that gives you your but that's the only thing that really makes him a threat, is that he can go like, and it's like more powerful than anyone else in the movie that he built this suit. It just feels a little lame to me. In the same way that Kang, his powers should be like time oriented, but it's the same thing. He could just go boom and then like knock you back. And it's like, well, that's everybody can just do that, and that's boring.
I agree. So, he's another one-off. So, I mean, sure, in an alternate timeline, I'm sure they'll pluck him out if they need him. But
I'll not give away / almost give away next week's trailer as well. There's a character in that we're introduced early on has like a crazy power that would be super useful in battle, and he uses it one time in battle at the very end. And it's like, why? You use that all the time, man.
Also, why bring humans along at all? But that's a clue for next week's Honest Trailer. Okay.
Loan them your body, and then they can join the fight.
Because it feels good to have them inside you. Anyways, keep going.
That's next week's
It's
trailer.
good to have friends.
Tears. Thrills. Tears. Tears.
They want to kill us all in the morning.
Tears. Tears. And tears.
Rocket?
Yeah, he's okay.
In this feature-length Sarah McLachlan commercial for a story that gives wholehearted support for animal rights, as long as they're cute.
You ever feel a little sad for them?
Yeah, sure.
So prepare for the MCU.
That after credits or mid-credit sequence or whatever, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, what movie did I just watch where the decision was made to end it with them heroically off camera gunning down a herd of animals?
It's just weird because it would have been so easy to make it like an army or a bunch of bad guys,
or like we're gonna divert them this way because they like it. Literally, the movie ends with them Noah's Arking a group of unintelligent creatures like onto to safety onto a ship, and then we're the Guardians. Credits roll.
And then it comes back to them gunning down a herd of wild animals.
They're talking about corn and about to they're coming right for us. Like they have some kind of hunter's permit to kill as many of these as they want.
Yeah, they gave
very bizarre.
He's got that. Adam Warlock has that line about he likes Adrian Belew, the lead singer of King Crimson. It's got to be the most obscure rock.
I did not get who that was.
Reference. Adrian Belew, he played with the Talking Heads, but he was one of the main guys in King Crimson, and that's who. When they're all going around saying their favorite musical artist, that is who Adam Warlock. It's totally like James Gunn putting. I think that tops.
Like the Doctor Strange Chuck Mangione Feel So Good reference.
Those are the top two most obscure music history references. Yeah.
It's a music history off between the two of them. Yeah. So I think that was my only point. Was there? I had one other one, but I already forgot.
Yeah,
what it was.
He definitely wants to have his cake and eat it too. Like knock an animal around as a joke, because we also talked about it's not in Marvel, in Gunn's Suicide Squad movie, there's all that like random bird cruelty, like like a bunch of birds get killed randomly.
That's right, he hates birds.
Yeah, like it's so weird that he seems to be he wants to use animals like in both ways at the same time. Like he wants to manipulate you, like this animal might get hurt, you're very sad about it, but then it's also like slam that lizard in the face, son. Like
I threw it before I walked in the room. I think that something I didn't work into the trailer was how awful this movie is from the perspective of Rocket Raccoon, who spends the whole film, he gets murked by Adam Warlock. He's
literally gasping for breath.
He gets like a chest wound that's like the size of a football. And like being tortured by like even the medical treatments look painful. They're like electrocuting him to try to make him feel better. That doesn't work. He goes into a coma where he relives all the worst parts of his life. He wakes up, shoots his boss, or like kills his creator, and then all of his friends quit. And it's like, we don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Yeah, it is.
We got to take some time off.
It's abrupt. Like I feel like,
especially from his perspective.
Especially from his perspective, but it's abrupt. We've been with them the whole time, and it's abrupt even for us. Like I feel like Gunn wrote himself to here's why Star-Lord wants to leave.
Yeah.
And then everybody else, he was just like, well, they also want to leave. Like Mantis is like, maybe I'll leave. And Drax like, I'll go be a teacher. Like, well, this is all very random. Like, none of that feels like earned at all.
Right. Like the second the team is put through like some actual loss and difficulty, like they didn't break up when Gamora died and quit or whatever and then got replaced. But But no, once Rocket's back, they're like, yeah, I'm better off.
Well, yeah, like suddenly Nebula's like, I need to stay here and be mayor of this space station. Like, all right, like I get somebody else could probably be mayor, but okay, and like you need to help me. Like, okay, like it just feels like, well, it's the end of the third movie, and James Gunn wants to go to DC now, so they have to break up, and like, could have laid a little bit more foundation.
Oh well, they will return in one form or another.
Star-Lord will return.
Star-Lord
We've been promised. We've been promised.
Yeah. All right, keep going.
Movie that you were convinced would kill off your phase. Didn't do that at all.
I'm okay.
And still managed to be a total downer.
What's even the point of being born?
Because quip all you want, but on a long enough timeline, everyone goes past their prime.
You keep your grimy raccoon hands off my Zoom.
Music gets progressively worse.
Britney Spears and corn.
Good choices.
And even if you make it through all your battles, everyone you know someday will die.
Forget.
What was I talking about? Oh yeah, look at all the goo. Goo, 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 goo.
So pause. Yeah, it's become such a cinematic gooniverse, hasn't it?
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Between this and Quantumania, two of the gooeyest films.
Oh my God, that one. I mean, it's no contest. Like this one has some goo, and we highlighted the goo. But Quantumania is just wall to wall. It's mucus, the motion picture. I've never seen anything like it. It's absolutely vile.
I hate to say it, but I do think this was the weakest of the needle drops. It just doesn't fit with me. I guess this is like vintage classic rock now, but like hearing Radiohead and Flaming Lips, it just doesn't feel right. I don't know how else to describe it.
No, I agree. I think the retro song thing was part of the charm, and I mean, if you're a kid, Dog Days Are Over is retro, so what do I know? But like to me, putting more modern songs in there, it didn't quite fit the aesthetic as well. Although I did really like the opening with Creep. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. The Zune with unlimited songs from every era kind of spoils the bit a little bit. I liked it more when it was a limited group of like, here's 12 songs from the 70s that he would randomly have on a tape in space.
Yeah, I just feel like he wouldn't like modern music. Like if he left Earth in the 80s, Star-Lord would be like, nah, I'm good. Like I'm gonna
well, right. You'd have your golden hits of the 70s, and that would be your music, And so yeah, you wouldn't necessarily.
If you brought Florence and the Machine back to like someone who's a big fan of like Foghat. Yeah. I just don't see it.
Although Florence Welch was so excited, I'm almost like, I'll give that one a pass, because it really did seem very meaningful to her to have her song featured in that way.
There you go. All right. Well, your mileage may vary. Let's wrap it up.
It's me, Star-Lord. Sadly Cooper. Gamora the Explorer. Big Blue Beetleborg. Ladybug. Parenting for Dummies. Palm Toretto. He's a decent villain, more or less. Eyebrows Kid. No, Eyebrows Man. Paw Patrol. Whistling Dick, see?
You're a bad dog.
Pause. No, I guess he is. He did have a shirtless scene. I take it back. I thought they Kumailed Eyebrows Kid because he got so swole, but didn't have a Will Poulter. Forever known as Eyebrows Kid from Maze Runner / Eyebrows Kid from The Revenant. Sorry, when you call him that in starring enough times, it's hard to shake it. Yeah, and then you're right. He did have a very intimate shirtless scene with Star-Lord out in space. I forgot.
Sure. Yeah.
But I was also just watching a YouTube video with Paul Rudd talking about how they cut all of his shirtless scenes. So he was very pissed about how in shape he got for Quantumania.
Yeah, he's in that suit the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can take your shirt off in the quantum realm, right? Isn't it like atmosphere issues or whatever? I don't know.
They have a new shirt made of goo.
Yeah, you have to put a thin layer of goo over it.
Yeah. All right, keep going.
Whistling Dick, see?
You're a bad dog.
Hawkeye's wife? Is that you? Judy Greer. No, seriously, look it up. And remember, Alf, he's back in note form. Close Encounters for a third time. Okay, how does Groot's language work exactly? Do characters just suddenly understand him once they become family?
I love you guys.
Regardless, he definitely says him off right here.
Mantis, why don't you just touch him and, make him happy?
I am Groot.
Gross.
No, not like that.
Yeah.
I think if I look back, I know there's one in volume 1. So there's probably one in volume 2, but like a big jizz joke in all of James Gunn's
right. Yeah, we talked
movies.
about that at the time. I don't remember exactly what it is, but we talked about that at the time. Isn't it
I'm
something with like a black light or they're scanning
yeah.
the room or something? Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Guardians Volume 3, the honest trailer. That's a
We
wrap
did it.
on the Guardians trilogy, although I'm sure they'll reboot it or give it to someone else on a long enough timeline.
I mean, I feel like some of these characters, like we know Batista doesn't want to do it anymore. I think Zoe Saldana said she's out. But yeah, like Pratt almost definitely is going to come back. And I feel like Will Poulter wouldn't have done this one unless he wants to come back and be Adam Warlock again.
Yeah.
So like we'll probably see them pop up. And certainly in the whoever dynasty, whoever the new dynasty is, and then some of them will obviously be back in the mix for those.
Yeah, the Secret Wars or whatever.
Exactly.
They'll pull them back out of the toy box
Right.
for one big CGI shot. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching to this point. Watch the Christopher Nolan By the Numbers one we just dropped on this same channel. We counted up all the timeline wankery, all the Michael Caine stuff, all the how much the Joker stole on that giant cash pyramid. All kinds of fun.
Dead wives and girlfriends. So many of those.
Spoiler alert, 8. Well, there's 3 movies that are like that are plot-centric dead women, but then 8 of like they've just mentioned that they happen to be dead.
They happen to be dead.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, go check that out.
But wear a suit. Put on a suit before you watch that one.
You could put on that would add to his suit count of 61 suits across his 11 films. Really impressive suit work. So let's get into the outtakes for Guardians 3.
Starring Grandpa's Boy. Lordy, I hope there are tapes. A Scar is Born. I See You. Gritty and Green. Blue Crush. Palm Loco. Army of Dweebs. My Stepfather is an Alien. Branch Manager. Bob Iger. If I could stalk all the animals, pluck all the animals, slice and burn and chop all the animals, baby boom. Yes, Chef. Thank you, Chef. I'm in Golden Army now, Mother. Eastern Europe's favorite dog and man team. Worker and Parasite. Avatar, The Way of Otter. Grudge Dread. Stallone, I'm Stallone, Bebop or Rocksteady, I can never remember. Masters of this universe. Guns, shoots, and leaves. Wait, so Rocket always steals prosthetics because his weird space dad gives his dead friends prosthetics? That is dark.
He's not gonna know where his eye is!
Yeah, there's something a little unhinged about that he grew up with a bunch of people with prosthetics forcibly.
And now he's like
and now he's into stealing them back
implants,
to rebuild his dead friends. I don't know. It's dark. That's dork. That's twisted. All right, so let's get into the chat as we've been talking. You've been talking.
I mean, James Gunn's in charge of the Joker now, so he's got to get twisted.
Joker stuff.
He's got to start putting 3s in when he spells the word twisted.
Let's start off with that. Evan J. Pretzer, should this movie have killed off characters? I was really disappointed it didn't. You certainly could have. I mean,
your faves gunned down. I don't know.
Yeah, there were a lot of death fake outs. I'll put it that way. So I was surprised, even watching the movie itself, when Star-Lord came back from that, and Drax seemed dead at some point. Everybody seemed dead at some point. I don't. You could have killed Drax. That would have been good. I think Batista's done, and that would have been a huge emotional send off for him, one way or another, sacrificing himself for the good of Nebula, who thinks he's an idiot. Well, who's dumb now?
Yeah. I don't know.
But
I don't really feel like it was necessary. Like it got me to the point it needed to get me to, of like, oh, I'm sad to see these guys go, and I don't feel like I needed to see them like choke on their own entrails in order to feel catharsis.
Yeah. Let's say Bruins fan 1144. What is the movie TV show with the worst animal cruelty? My vote is Animal of Farthing Woods, and it was a kids show. Well, my vote is it's
I don't know what that is.
Milo, and it's got to be Milo and Otis, right? Like that's the reason
Yeah,
we have the like disclaimer about animals. No animals were harmed.
Pretty upsetting.
Also a children's show.
I think you go back to like the classic of all time, Bambi, which is
Bambi.
Like the when Bambi's mom dies, it's like genuinely traumatic and unexpected if you're a kid and you don't know what Bambi is about already.
Yeah. Icarus Tyler writes, Guardians 3 seems like your favorite from the current MCU phase. What's your next best favorite? Lost track of phases. What phase are we in now?
I think 4. Didn't we just wrap up 4?
So yeah, this is
Quantumania wrapped up.
Quantumania was the start of. I thought Quantumania was the
start of 5. Maybe.
Start of 5.
I could be mixed up on that, but anyway, that was the transition point. I'm gonna go.
Let's do favorite of Phase 4 because yes,
right.
It started with Quantumania.
Right. I'm gonna go. I think Doctor Strange 2. I didn't love everything about it, but I really loved the raininess of it and the visual inventiveness of it, and I had a lot of fun watching it, and it felt like really high energy, and the pacing I really liked, and I loved all the of course the Raimi touches. And so yeah, I think probably Multiverse of Madness would be mine.
Yeah, weirdly I'm going Disney Plus with it, because for me it's either WandaVision, which was phase 4, or Loki season 1. I don't think the movies, like even No Way Home, it's just trafficking so much in nostalgia that like even if it feels good, it's forgettable to me.
Yeah, my second place would have been Wakanda Forever, I think.
Yeah, Wakanda Forever, I think that they did well. They did as well as they could given the circumstances.
Yeah, if Wakanda Forever was more focused on like the core, like if it was just Namor and that stuff, and it felt like it had to do less of the Riri Williams-ness of it and all the other Val and all that other stuff, I think it could have been a much better. There's a tighter movie in there if you clear out all the Marvel Studios world building stuff. I think.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, honestly, like the character from Phase 4 I'm most excited about is Florence Pugh as Black Widow, which they established in Black Widow and threw into Hawkeye a lot.
Yelena,
yeah. But yeah, not a great phase. Kind of an awkward phase.
Not their best phase. Definitely not.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Benjamin Abramowitz, is this the last time the MCU is going to be at the center of pop culture? And what do you see taking its place in the 2020s? Well, I wouldn't count them out yet. I think that they're definitely in a dip as they've been before, but with the whole industry being rocked, it's going to be tough. The thing is, like, let's wait to see what they do with the X-Men and Fantastic Four, which they have and they've done nothing with yet. They also got the rights to finally make solo Hulk movies. So they have a lot of like trump cards left of or moves they can make. That's like, okay, even if you didn't like everything we've done recently, we can take you to all these beloved characters and give you a new take on that stuff that hasn't been good in a long time.
I think Iger and Feige have also woken up to the reality that they're making way too much of this stuff and dumping way too much of it on Disney Plus, and they've diluted. Like Iger, he is quoted last week as saying they've diluted the brand by overstuffing Disney Plus with new Marvel. So I think now that they figured that out, that's going to be a thing we'll see over the next few years that probably will help. I think I can only have more anticipation for the next Marvel thing will be good. It'll make people more eager to see it.
I just imagine like Iger as Obi-Wan and Feige as Anakin on fire at the end of you've diluted the brand. You're the chosen one. You've diluted
the chosen one.
All right, let's move on to let's see. Well, May asks, do you think that the strike would eventually, with everything else going on, limit the number of scripted shows each year? Because currently there's way too much for anyone to follow. Well, there you go. I mean,
I mean, that's not going to be a consequence of the strike. That's just going to happen.
That's
anyway,
just
because
going to
they've been
happen.
they've been making way too much content, and everybody knows it.
Yeah. So
A lot
that's
of all of these tech companies came in and kind of took over the entertainment industry, and they are not funded by advertising the way studios were. They're funded by venture capital firms that are just dumping billions of dollars into the market. So they didn't have to make money on all their shows. They could just churn out shows for years and bring people into the platform. And as long as the subscription numbers were going up, it was gravy. But now those VCs have stopped investing, and they're more reliant on subscription revenue and ad revenue to actually pay for the shows that they're making. So you're going to start seeing a lot fewer shows. It's just inevitable.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. And we'll end with this. James Bunt, the previous writer's strike brought us Dr. Horrible. With the actors now with free time, who would you want to team up to make a short micro budget project?
Well, I should note first that it's probably not going to happen as much, because back in 2007 or 8 or whenever they did Dr. Horrible, YouTube wasn't really seen as like a viable competitor to the actual industry. So famous people going and doing stuff on YouTube was just seen as like fun, like a little silly side thing. But today, digital media is very valuable. So you probably won't see, because think about it, like today, something like Dr. Horrible, well, that could go like YouTube's a streamer, or that could go to Netflix. It's like you end up just padding the streamers and giving them more content, which is exactly what SAG and WGA don't want to do. So you probably will be seeing a lot less of that stuff now. Having said that, it would be really fun to see Oscar Isaac do something like silly and goofy on the internet, I
think. Yeah, can't top that. Well, again, thank you guys so much for watching. We will be back, but in the meantime, support the strikers, learn more, get involved, and yeah, we hope there is a just and quick and equitable end to this. But till then, thanks for watching so much. Next week is well, you make the case for for the people who you want to see more movies in the world until you see something like next week, and you just ask, why are we doing this at all?
Another interesting thing about next week. So there's a movie, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, in theaters right now. I really enjoyed it. All centers around a key. The whole MacGuffin is they got to get the key, 2 parts to the key, and then we put the parts together to make the key. Our movie next week, also about a key that's been split in 2 parts that you need to unite the key. What a weird coincidence.
Very, very key heavy.
Oh my God, so much key.
As Pusha T says, keys open doors, but this is not in an interesting or fun way to me.
Like
but
DJ Khaled wrote the script for this one. It's just a key emoji on every page. This is weird.
God. Yeah, back to that, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.